solutions that you want, working from that standpoint. Now, some of you, because the Hindu and the Buddhist traditions, they advance you to basically to go to self-realization, to realize that you are who you are. And not much is discussed about living in that state. And so that is what, by knowing that you are the infinite splendor, either through self-realization, but not everybody goes into the moon. Not everybody goes to the bottom of the ocean. And yet people come back and they give you that message. So by knowing it, you can function in it. You don't have to, of course, if you don't believe it, then it's a hard thing to accept. But there is enough evidence as I went through China, Japan, Korea, and science today, you know, people like Wheeler and Bohr and Einstein. So you can accept that message. You don't have to go by trial and error. And so knowing that you are that person and participating on a daily basis, all of a sudden changes, and you will observe a change in your approach to people and the reality that you are projecting. Now, what are you really dealing with? There is a source code. A source code, is the unchanging. And I have here a new book, came out January this year, which discusses hard physics. The book, although it came out recently, the information was published in 93, 92, 90, and one of the papers from National Academy of Sciences in Ukraine addresses the physics of this. And so what we have like a disk in a computer, and you punch in certain numbers, 5 and 6, and you get 11. Somebody else pushes 2 and 2, and they get 4. So there's a source code, and this is where we live. And so what we are trying to do normally in our way of thinking, say, hey, I think this is the best way to do it. So you make that decision, and then you get hurt. And so the key here is to align yourself with that source code. Now, for example, we had wood on the planet, and we were using it for ships. And so the mindset was, you need something that is lighter than water to float on water. Well, you put steel, you can't fly, can't propel yourself on steel. Well, there is a law, by pushing water apart, the steel will float on it. And the same thing when you take a magnet and you strike an induction and you get electricity. Or you build magnifying glass and you look at the stars, or the atom. And so there is a code, the source code, that if you are able to decode it, and what our scientists have done is they call it laws of physics, they decode a law and all of a sudden you can fly. Now there's several components you integrate. One is you have a propeller that pushes you forward. Now there's a difference in air pressure between the top and the bottom, so if you have wings, it lifts you up. If you move this way, this takes you up into higher elevation. So by knowing the source code, you can take advantage of the reality. And the source code is, we have been limiting to science, not limiting to the absolute, to really living a divine life. So like the source code for laws of physics, you can apply the source code to living a better life. And what is required here is a little bit of rewiring of the network in the brain. Now, you say, why is that necessary? But think when you were a small child and you were crawling on 4, and eventually you managed to get up and you walked on 2. And it was maybe a little wobbly at times, But what happened was you created neuron connections. And the same thing when you ride a bike. Today you don't think about how to keep balance. It's automatic, second nature. So you have rewired your neural networks, the antennas, to reach that higher state of operation. And so when some of you have driven here from wherever you were, how many of you remember that you pushed the accelerator in the car? See? And people play piano or golf, or they don't think about how to hold the tennis or the golf court, club. So this is all automatic. So the object here is, what we will discuss is how to reach that state as infinite splendor. And refinement of awareness through perfections and autopilot.